Okay, Anna, I'll be handing it over to you. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Gad. Hello, everyone. Welcome for today's webinar. It is titled The Science of Pleasure, and it is also a part of our series together with Ms. Zahira from Nuffield Counseling, who is not going to be actually joining us today. But this series is called the Relationship Reboot, and we are going to be at the very end of the webinar also talking about our upcoming retreat dedicated to couples, but not only to couples, also for individuals who would like to know more about their sexuality and explore deeper levels of connection with their loved ones. So let's begin. Before I start, actually, I would like to mention one thing. Since we are covering the topic of sex, orgasm, and sensuality, it is advised that all the audience of this webinar that is below 18 will be kindly requested to leave this, this webinar right now. Thank you so much. Okay, so the key topics we are going to discuss today, they can be narrowed down to three areas. The first one is the pursuit of pleasure. Then we have the types of pleasure, and beyond what you already know about your own sensuality and the ways of experiencing orgasm. Let's start with the pursuit of pleasure. And before we actually are going to begin discussing this topic, I would like to give you one interesting quotation by Miss Esther Perel. Esther Perel is a psychotherapist who have devoted her research on focusing on the conflict that most of the relationships face between their needs and their pursuit for freedom. So what she said about sexuality is so fascinating because in every culture, every era, sex is pretty much the window through which you can look at some of the most archaic, rooted, deep values of the society, of its treatment of each sex group, power dynamics, privilege, to double standards and all of that together. Then tell me about your sexuality and I will know pretty much about who you are as a person. So this quotation, when I was reading some of her works, it actually caught my attention. And then we have further on another part that is referring to how we actually make love with our partners. Because we live in a performance-driven, industrialized place, we would like to be able to quantify sex and how many orgasms, how hard, how long, how many pills, and all of that, rather than understanding that erotic is a beautiful, radiant interlude that is massively unproductive and it has no numbers and you cannot measure it. It is a state of being. So what I specifically like about this quotation here is that Ms. Esther underlines the fact that sex, making love, and especially the orgasm itself is simply a state of being. This is something to tap into and feel rather than to think about it. And there is actually a lot we can learn from this state if we have the proper attitude, openness, and understanding of it. Now let's talk a little bit about the benefits of orgasm, because for most of us, probably we know it as something pleasant to experience for a while, for a moment, from time to time, but not all of us is aware of the actual physical, emotional, and mental benefits orgasm can bring. So one of the benefits is the fact that it can actually boost your energy and it can take you beyond your ego. Now, what does it mean, boosting your energy? From the energetic point of view, in the very moment of orgasm, of experiencing the climax, the whole body, and I'm talking about our comprehensive system. So not only the physical body, but also our energetic levels that are more subtle and not tangible. It comes into a certain cohesion and alignment, and it's being very receptive. So the receptivity of our system during orgasm is very heightened. And during this very moment, all of our chakras, all of our meridians in the body, they are receiving unlimited flow of energy. And very similar states we can experience during, for example, very deep states of meditation. And as a matter of fact, many people who have the capacity and the experience over the years of practices of certain paths, various of them, they actually are able to tap in the same sense of openness, of receptivity, and of pure energetic flow without any boundaries. Now, the other part of the sentence is that it actually takes you beyond your ego. Maybe less about energy now and more about how the brain operates when we actually experience orgasm. So the moment we climax, the brain shuts down a part of it, the part that is actually responsible for judgments, for also for creating the states of anxiety, sense of separation, the part that thinks logically, basically. So all this logical part of the mind, who also creates a lot of stress, fears, and anxiety on a daily basis, basically goes on vacation. And we kind of tap into the very, very beautiful right-sided ecstatic state of our brain. And this part gives us a lot of boost, a lot of flow. And for this reason, very often people feel way less intimidated during the act of making love and orgasming, comparing to their, let's say, the state of everyday life. Another quality and benefit of orgasm is the fact that it creates your feel happy hormones like serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, and endorphins. So to put it very shortly, these are all hormones and neurotransmitters. So they are responsible for delivering a variety of messages between our nerve cells. And maybe I will not go through them one by one, but I will just speak in general. Serotonin promotes our healthy sleep patterns, and it also helps us really regenerate and feel a good mood, feel very relaxed. Then dopamine, it has the same qualities. On the top of that, when we experience the healthy level of dopamine in our system, it's responsible for the feeling of satisfaction and reward. So we feel motivated, we feel inspired to continue during doing certain activity. Now, oxytocin is a very popular hormone responsible for feeling of bonding. So, for example, women produce a lot of oxytocin during the breastfeeding. I think most of us know this. It creates the feeling of closeness between people, of love, and feeling attached, and feeling very intimate with one another. Then the endorphins are natural mood uplifters and also pain relievers. So if you are summarizing, all of these can be actually naturally produced in a healthy quantity when we maintain certain healthy level of lifestyle, when we take care of our nutrition, when we cultivate healthy lifestyle through sport activities, when we meditate, and also when we actually experience orgasm. Let me move to the next slide to also show you what are the outcomes of deficiencies of all the mentioned hormones and neurotransmitters. So, for example, we have digestion problems, because these hormones are also responsible for our digestive system. We have problems with, for example, constipation and reflux. Then problems with quality of sleep and unhealthy sleeping patterns. We have low energy level and lack of motivation. Then we have obviously low libido, or in other words, sex drive. We have increased aches and pain, variety of muscle cramps, spasms, and stiffness. Overall, we are not that capable of lessen our pain, so that the feeling, the sensation of pain will feel stronger when we have deficiency of these hormones. And then we have also more probability of being addicted to certain things. So going back to other benefits, orgasm can actually also help us create neuroplasticity in our brain. So it can help us releasing traumas and stored blockages. So let me elaborate a little bit more on that. Neuroplasticity is a very wide term. Again, here we have only 45 minutes, so maybe I will not go into details of it, but overall, I could explain it like this. Our mind naturally has the capacity to transform its structure and its function, and to adjust depending on certain experiences and our response to these experiences. So neuroplasticity is actually the ability of the mind to regenerate, and also to, in a way, to purge negative cellular memories stored in the mind. And what does sexuality have to do with it? When we make love and when we actually experience this beautiful orgasmic state of being, it can literally heal and cleanse and reset our mind, because in this state of being, once we tap into it, even for a moment, all these negative memories, traumas, and blockages can be neutralized and washed away, and it creates a space, like a beautiful clarity in our mind. Therefore, it can actually create new possibilities for us in our lives, to replace them with some beautiful experiences. Then another benefit is the fact that it can actually be functioning as meditation. I think for obvious reasons, for the reasons that I mentioned in the very beginning, when we were talking about boosting the level of our energy. So basically, I think for me, sex is meditation, but not necessarily any kind of sex with any kind of approach to sex. So if sex is combined with proper understanding and awareness, it can actually help us tap into the very beautiful, pure meditative state. It's all the matter of exploring the spaces. And the last but not least is the fact that it can keep our brain healthy and make us more naturally attractive. So to quickly elaborate on those, during orgasm, our whole body and also our brain are flooded more with the flow of blood. So the blood flow everywhere in the system increases. For this reason, it also keeps and maintains the brain healthy, and it's supposed to make it more sharp. At least this is what some of the scientists say. Why I place this last benefit, the fact that orgasm can make us more naturally attractive. I believe that when a person has a really happy and fulfilled, satisfied love life, and they are enjoying their lovemaking without blockages, predictions, without insecurities and filtering, they're simply more happy and more confident on a daily basis. This is one thing. And another thing is that when I have natural and vibrant and very healthy sexuality, even if I'm not in a relationship, naturally it will show it feels for other people very attractive for some reason. And sometimes there are these glimpses that you cannot actually grasp, and you cannot tell what that is, but you can recognize it in the person. There is some healthy, attractive energy behind it. And this is what I'm referring to, basically. So now we are going to talk a little bit about the pursuit of pleasure itself. In our modern society, I think we are on daily basis so flooded with overflow of information, of tasks to fulfill, of things to complete and to be responsible for. It's a very fast pace of living. And for this reason, I think our body and our mind keeps looking on daily basis for ways to actually release the high level of stress, of cortisol in the system. And most of us might not even be aware that much of what drives us when we decide to take certain action and what makes us choose do one things or the other. And very often we are subconsciously just simply seeking ways to release the stress and to make the levels of the feel happy hormones higher, to feel better, to regenerate. And there is nothing wrong with that, but simply sometimes when we really don't know and don't have understanding, the awareness and the conscious understanding of how to cope with the stress, we tend to develop certain tendencies that will push us towards directions that might be not an outcome of our conscious choices, but rather outcome of our compulsive behaviors. So some of the typical addictive tendencies that we all have and experience from time to time, and I guess we are all familiar with those, would be, for example, the habits of the tendency to go shopping if we feel stress, and that might be mainly for women, I guess, or looking for sex, or maybe eating something nice that we like, not necessarily healthy kind of food, or looking for other ways of release, of feeling more calm, like for example alcohol. Sometimes some people they tend to use variety of drugs, and so on and so forth. So very often we simply don't have control over these things, over these behaviors, and that is the point where it becomes addictive. And again, when we are talking about alcohol or sex or shopping or sweets, obviously with the healthy amounts and with the healthy approach, there is nothing wrong with those. And on their own, they are neither good or bad. And just like sex is just sex, is one of our natural functions of us as human beings, but it's the way we approach it that makes a huge difference. So sex can be also addictive and not necessarily healthy, and it becomes unhealthy when it is compulsive, if it's being pursued out of the need and out of the feeling that we just cannot handle without, we cannot live without it, and we just need to act upon these sensations, these desires, without much understanding and awareness what's happening in this particular moment with us, with our body and with our mind. So it feels like we are not thinking, and this energy is completely taking over the control. And sometimes we may look at certain situation and it might appear the same, but sometimes we may make decision in the same situation out of the freedom of choice, and at other times out of being controlled by a rush, a surge of certain energy, like sensual arousal. And that's the difference I'm referring to. So let me give you a few examples of this kind of addictive behaviors. And after that, I'm going to share with you why, from my understanding and my humble perspective, I believe they are not necessarily very healthy for you and they are not contributing to your well-being. So some of these examples are, let's say, if you know your body to the extent that you know how to please yourself, but it's very limited. So for example, you can only seek for pleasure through certain ways. Maybe using vibrators, or only watching pornography, or only connecting in certain ways with your lover, but you cannot connect in other ways. So I'm referring to maybe a setup, or the way you talk to each other, or the way you touch each other, and so on. If you become very dependent on the way of getting the pleasure and experiencing the pleasure in your body with your partner all alone, it might signify that you have a form of addiction that you cannot let go of. And of course, there are levels to it, right? And some people can even have very strong addictions, taking it to the point when they can even, for example, I don't know, maybe a man can leave in the middle of the dinner with the family to hook up with a girl he just texted on Tinder because he feels such a rush of having the sexual experience in the particular moment. So again, it's not that I would like to judge situations or people's behavior from the morality perspective right now, because this is not the objective of this webinar. I would just like to point out the fact in a very non-judgmental manner that some of our behaviors actually in the long run doesn't make us fulfilled and actually satisfied out of our sexual activity. Is on the contrary, they are going to leave us very, very empty and feeling like a void inside. And on the other hand, they make us keep chasing for more because we keep looking to fulfill this void, and or maybe how to compensate for this low level of energy by maintaining and continuing this form of limiting unhealthy behaviors. And this is like a catch-22. So we keep looking for more, and these addictions, they hold empty promises because sometimes they feel and they seem to be very attractive, but we actually end up with nothing completely, and it doesn't take us anywhere. And on the contrary, it actually makes us very dependent and not being connected with our essence. So we feel more and more disconnected, more dependent on certain actions and behaviors. And we don't have this essential understanding of ourselves and of our nature. And sex in its essence does have this beautiful potential to tap into your being and to explore this amazing energy in a very beautiful and innocent way, which I'm going to tell you about in a short while. So maybe adding up to this part is a very good question, actually, how we can start exploring more connected, more soulful sex that would actually give us really amazing, very deep level of pleasure and satisfaction and of connectivity with your partner. That is a very good question that we are going to cover in the next part. So we are going to talk about the types of pleasure, but not necessarily in the way normally most of specialists would cover this topic. I believe, let me just slide to another part. I think most of specialists would now be starting pointing out all the kinds of physical orgasms people can experience, both for men and for women. Yes, we can have orgasms by ejaculation, by male G-spot, by female G-spot, by the deep vaginal orgasm, etc., etc. But it's not important right now for me. I would like to talk about orgasm from a little bit wider perspective than this. I think most people understand orgasm as just this rush of pleasure that you feel when you actually have this peak of climax when making love to your partner when pleasing yourself. But as a matter of fact, when we look at orgasm from this bigger perspective, point of view, orgasm can be just any kind of a sudden release of accumulated energy. And we are all made up of energy. The energy is not only accumulated in the lower parts of our body, and it's not necessary that we need to experience this beautiful flow of release when we make love. It's not limited to the genital area. And it might be actually very surprising for most of the people, but imagine this. We all are energetic beings. We are not just limited to this tangible body. And I think we already know this even scientifically. We have this understanding. And all of our meridian systems, all the energetic flow in the body has this beautiful potential to experience orgasmic state of being, as a matter of fact. And why most people actually believe and think that orgasm can be so narrowed down and so limited to only the genital area. I believe because this is everything that we know, most of us, but it doesn't need to be that way. Just because most of us experienced orgasm by far only on this lower genital level, it doesn't mean that orgasms literally in other parts of the body are impossible. And as a matter of fact, you can experience orgasm in many, many parts of the body you would never literally believe you would be capable of experiencing. So, for example, imagine you can experience this beautiful flow of energy, very similar to the genital area orgasm energy, but is a bit more different, modified manner in your brain, or for example, even in your fingertips or in your heart. It is possible, and this is not metaphoric speaking right now. I'm talking about literal physical orgasm, which you can and you have potential to be experiencing everywhere. It can actually even overtake your whole system if you allow it. So the way and the key to do it is to start exploring orgasm from this deeper awareness, increase your understanding of these energies and approach it really with respect as a beautiful tool to tap into and to learn from, and to have your takeaway of this, because it has a lot to offer. But I think most people treat it in a way, I would compare it like going to McDonald's, I'm sorry to say, maybe to the fast food restaurant, any kind of a fast food restaurant, because they are in a rush. It's again this feeling of compulsion. I'm hungry right now. I need to eat something. And they are just stuffing themselves with food without understanding, without awareness. They don't even think of what's happening in their mind. They don't pay attention to being present in this experience. They don't pay attention to their senses when it's happening. They just want to eat as soon as possible and fill their belly. And comparing this kind of experience with going to beautiful, sophisticated restaurant with the most amazing dish, when you have all the tastes, all the flavors that you can enjoy, and It's like beautiful orchestrated dish that you can taste slowly, piece by piece, and you are being amazed by discovering deeper and deeper levels of taste. So I really encourage everyone to pay attention and really look at your own sexuality, what's happening deeper there, and what kind of beliefs you are holding on to, and what you were taught by society, by your family during the upbringing to think of it, and how you approach your loved one. And it all doesn't matter, but people just don't think about it. They don't think of these things on a daily basis. And for this reason, for us, we simply either ignore it or we use it in, I would say, misuse it very often. And now, yes, we talked about addictions and about, for example, compulsive behaviors. And then we have another spectrum on the scale. I hear sometimes a lot of people, they are claiming, I don't need sex in my life. I feel very happy, very satisfied just the way I am. And maybe, I don't know, people over 40, 50, they can say, I have my children already, now I'm a mother or a father, I focus on their upbringing and sex doesn't serve me any purpose. So I'd rather focus on my career and on my family, on my responsibilities. So they have this very, very pragmatic approach to this. And they're pretty much convinced that they actually don't need sex in their lives. And I would say, again, I don't mean to judge anyone, and very often, of course, without getting to know the person and without understanding them better, I wouldn't dare to judge anyone's statements. But in most cases, I look at it and not necessarily fully believe that in the statement, because from my observation, it is actually very rare that an individual is capable of operating from a point and a level of such a freedom in their lives. I put it like this: some people are like walking power banks because they're really mastered already their awareness, and they have understanding and of their energy, and they tap into their energy to the extent that there is really a sense of freedom in them. And maybe from this perspective, those people, which is very rare, they don't actually need to have sex. And I can perfectly understand this because they don't need to look for compensation of their own energetic deficiencies. So everything in their brain, even from the hormone perspective, is perfectly balanced, and they don't have high stress levels. They are perfectly aligned and perfectly balanced. So if they decide to have sex with someone, to continue making love with their partners, if they have partners, that would be indeed a choice made out of point of freedom. They may have it, but if they don't have it, for example, they choose to live on their own and simply deal without sex at all, it's equally pleasant and enjoyable for them. So it hardly makes any difference. But I think there are like very exceptional cases. In most cases, for most of us, people who are really stressed on daily basis, who have a lot of things to be responsible for, who have their own families, their own struggles and issues and work and so on. For them, sex is the way to really release this energy and of stress and the heightened cortisol level. And not only that, sex and orgasm is actually for them the way of healing, of regeneration, of balancing the system and the mind as well, hormonally and not only. And also I would say to tap into this meditative state, because otherwise maybe they wouldn't think of it, because they don't have yet this level of understanding, of awareness, of self-maintenance, energetically as well, emotionally, mentally, that for them sex, even maybe subconsciously, is the way to find this calibration again in life. So when a person like this tells me, no, actually, I don't need sex, it doesn't serve me any specific purpose, I usually look at it with a little bit of disbelief, because I think most of these people are actually pretty much disconnected, and they do have some blockages in their lives that disallow them from enjoying sex and from, enjoying the benefits of it. And it's very often, in case of women, I think it's mainly the case of women rather than men. So I think the big challenge here for women is how to actually tap into this energy beyond your blockages, how to let go of these blockages that we all have, or maybe certain fears of feeling of shame, having your own body-related insecurities, and so on and so forth, right? So for them, it would be actually opening up to their own bodies and to their own awareness, and opening to the partner. And for men, I think in most cases, it will be a little bit different objective. It will be more about how to master their own energy, because very often their energy is a little bit like a wild horse without a lace. So what they need to do is to learn how to control it, how to maintain it, how to master it. And by mastering this energy, I'm not talking about, by no means, by refraining from this energy or by trying to meet certain social standards or morals. Again, this is not a webinar about morals, but only about orgasm and sex, mainly from the energetic perspective. So mastering this energy means acting upon your own sexuality, your sexual energy, with proper awareness and with proper understanding. Let's now move to another part. Beyond what you already know, that's the last part of the webinar. And I think I'm just going to cover this part shortly because we don't have much time anymore. Let me share with you my own story, how I actually became very curious about sexuality, and by some of the tantric practices that I was lucky enough to be introduced to a bit later in my life. For me, it all started in quite early childhood. So I was maybe around 4 or 5 years old. So obviously, being that young, I had completely zero understanding of what sex is, of what arousal means, of what procreation is for, right? So a child of this age is very pure and is very innocent. And when you are 4 or 5, you don't yet have any social conditioning. You don't have any tendencies that you develop longer, further over time when you grow up. And you don't yet have this like family or social programming, sexuality related. So I believe in this young age, all the energies that flow in your system, they flow in pretty much unlimited way, especially if you live and if you are being brought up in a very healthy family with healthy patterns and relationships, templates. So I was lucky enough to be born in a family like this. So going back to my early years of life, I remember I used to quite often actually experience this very strange, maybe strange for most people, but those days, they were not strange for me at all. They were very amazing states of being. So I remember it was like rushes of energy throughout my whole body. And I'm not only talking to any specific part of it. It was very overwhelming, amazing, like beyond description, rush of ecstatic energy that would be just sensed throughout my whole system for a few minutes, and then it would fade away slowly. And I have no idea what that was that time, obviously, and I had no way of knowing, but I felt curiosity, but at the same time, I felt like it was kind of a very natural what it was. It felt like part of me, and I felt a lot of respect to this power. It felt like there was some higher force beyond what I know as myself and my body that was kind of like in charge of me. And it gave me this like soothing feeling of that I'm so much more than just my body and my personality. And maybe those days when I was 5, I would describe these days completely differently. But now, as I remember it, it was a very humbling experience and actually very beautiful and very spiritual and very liberating. And after several years, when I actually grew up a little bit and I became a teenager, I remember the moment that there was one day when actually I had my first orgasm, like a physical clitoris orgasm. And I kind of felt disappointed that time, because I realized when I experienced orgasm as a teenager, it felt like a fraction of this beauty and the power of this like full body orgasm I used to experience as a very young child. So for me, it developed this kind of like natural curiosity around sex and what is this energy about and what it can teach you about yourself in your life. Because I felt that there is something more to it than just simply pleasure, like a moment of physical pleasure. And I was looking for an answer for quite a while. I was meditating for many years, like for over 15 years on a daily basis. I did my meditation and yoga practices. And I did try a variety of tools and followed some teachers. And I couldn't find an answer to this question, like, what about sexuality? So we have these beautiful states of meditation, of like dropping your senses and not being attached to your thoughts and so on. But what about sexuality? Most teachers would tell me, ignore your senses because they will distract you from going deeper into the states of meditation. And indeed, that is the case when your natural way of tapping into your sensuality would be sitting with eyes closed and being completely blank and just allowing yourself to go deeper. But I think for most people, it might be sometimes challenging, right? And at some point in my life, I came across Tantra. And after a few of the practices that I experienced during Tantra, I just rediscovered this amazing flow of energy. As a matter of fact, I was just told to follow certain guidelines in the meditation, and I will never forget my first time when I actually had my orgasmic experience, and it was literally orgasm of the whole body, literally physically orgasm of the whole body, just as I remember this from my very early childhood. At some part of this meditation, something just opened up in me and completely let go. And I felt this flow everywhere. And it was so much more than just the feeling of being turned on. It was so beautiful. And I felt so grateful that I was given the opportunity to actually discover this state. So for me, Tantra and all these ways to tap into the deeper states through sexuality is something really amazing that for me, it also changed me and transformed me in a way, and completely changed my understanding of sex and of pleasure and of understanding of my own system. It is right now something so much more for me than merely having a physical relief. Unfortunately, we are running a little bit out of time. So at this point, I'm just going to quickly summarize and ask you the most important question. Are you open to start this journey together with me? Because if you would like to give it a try and explore these states that I just pointed out and shared with you, you are more than happy to attend one of our retreats we are offering together with Nuffield Wellness. So this specific retreat, which is going to take place in the last weekend of July, I'm going to share with you the specific dates in a while. It's called Nuffield Secret of Sensuality Retreat. And this program is, as I mentioned in the very beginning, not only dedicated for couples, but also for individuals. You don't need to necessarily be in a relationship to experience the benefits of this program, because we are going to be covering all these topics that I just mentioned with you during the webinar and so much more. Let me point out very quickly some of the benefits of this program, of this retreat. It is, among others, enhancing natural self-expression, and obviously together with that, creativity, stimulating creativity, improving overall sense of well-being, opening the flow of energy and deeper satisfaction. So we are going to actually learn how to feel this deeper satisfaction when we make love with ourselves or with our partners, how to let go of limiting behavior related to our sexuality, then how to form deeper bonds with your partner, and how to increase your self-awareness, which I believe is kind of like a natural outcome of this retreat. Now the dates, here we go. The dates are 30th and 31st of July 2022. Next month in Singapore in Holiday Inn. We have very beautiful venue there. So the retreat is going to take place for 2 full days, and you have extra gift packages at the end and the certification once you complete the retreat. And on the top of this, you are going to experience so much more surprises that I'm not going to share with you right now. As I mentioned, it's going to be a surprise for you. But if you'd like to know a little bit more of the details of this program, you are most welcome to reach out to me. You can either email me or WhatsApp me under this given number. You can also enter our website, the Nuffield Wellness website /programs, and there you will have a whole variety of programs that you can attend with us. Thank you so much for taking part of this webinar. And now very quickly, not to take too much of your time, we are going to start the questions and answers section. Gad, can you kindly assist me?
Yes, okay, I will.
Thank you so much. Let me check if we even have any questions and answers. Maybe we don't have. 1 second. Okay. I think we are clear. Thank you so much, everyone, again. And I'm looking forward to connect with you the next time. There will be a third part of this relationship reboot webinar. We are going to cover more topics sexuality related. In the meantime, if you have, again, any questions about our upcoming retreat, feel free to contact me. Thank you and have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye. There is actually someone raising hand.
Yes, it's Rajiv. So,
Yes, but Rajiv, you can actually type your question in the questions and answers chat box, because we are not able to unmute you. We are so sorry about this. Otherwise, you are welcome to reach me on my WhatsApp as well.
yeah, no worries. I think Rajiv
Okay.
left the meeting.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Good night, everyone.
Thank you so much. Good night.